Okay, I stopped my video. My daughter came in and I was just distracted, and so she's probably gonna come in, but now I at least am not gonna get as sidetracked. Anyways, so I was talking about um my experience in the occult world, that I pretty much got into and studied every religion and spirituality I could because that was a big interest. I was a big truth seeker and just wanting to know uh, the whys and hows of the spiritual world, and I just really would read and go to different places to learn about um, different religions and things. And that led me into, black and white magic, and then deeper into Luciferianism and the occult. Sorry. And kind of in the realm of like Satanism, Luciferianism, demonology, and all that, like the dark arts, which I didn't see as like a bad thing when you start getting into like witchcraft and the occult. You see like dark and light as two sides of a coin that neither are bad. And that's kind of what I wanted to go into, is like a very spicy topic about like why throughout the Bible, uh, and it's actually going on today, why they sacrificed, and they sacrificed their own children, mainly for power and money and all kinds of things from these gods, which are really fallen angels, devils, or whatever you call them. And they're the false idols, the false gods. Um, but in the Bible, the angels were called little g gods. The God, creator God, is capital G. So there's God himself, and then there's the little gods, which is what a lot of mythology and like Greek and Norse mythology, when you see these gods and demigods, these were actually real entities that they made these stories about. Hercules and Zeus, and uh, they were actually, there's older versions of Baal, and uh, and then in the older times, they just changed names, and it's Moloch, and all these gods and things were based off of these fallen beings. But what I wanted to get into is why they sacrificed, and why the people in power now are still doing this. And I don't know if a lot of people understand or realize that, like, people in high level power, um, in the monarchy and the government, they still do these things, and it shows in the Bible that they did all throughout the past. And I'm gonna read a couple scriptures that show that. But so I was gonna explain that, like, the reason they didn't see this as something really bad is because in the occult world, it's like you're not really like offing. I'm gonna be careful what words I use because you can get, you know, they're fact check or they're inappropriate, whatever, you know. So, I probably shouldn't have even said that, dang it. But, so they would do these kind of things with the thought of, like, they would pass their children through the flames. It says in the Bible, in ancient times, and um, this type of stuff is still happening. But they would do it because the people doing it would gain power and fame and fortune from these gods that would elevate them. Um, you heard the term sold your soul to the devil. Yeah, that's why a lot of these celebrities and Hollywood people are in this big um, occult cult. They're into the Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, and a lot of these things that explain the same thing. As you get deeper and deeper into it, they start revealing more. And I didn't make do rituals so deep as to get stuck, thankfully. I did want to become a high priestess in the Black Magic Church, which led me to study and try to understand these things that go on to become that. And so, like usual, I read further ahead than the class, and that's how I've always been, is I just like to figure out things and study on my own. I'm a curious George, and I'm always curious. And so, sometimes it can get you in trouble, and a lot of times it's just works to my benefit to where I just can see ahead. And God made me that way for a reason. That's one of my giftings, is like a word of knowledge I'll get from the Lord, or discerning like what's good and evil because of these things that I've delved into. Um, so, like one of the wickedest men in the world, Aleister Crowley, he was part of the occult in this OTO, Ordo Temple Orientis, that I was involved in. And I read a lot about him and was reading further and further. And I started understanding, just like God has a law, these Luciferians, that's what he was. And like a lot of Satanism is mixed. It's all the same. They'll say we don't believe in Satan or whatever, but they're all the same type of beliefs, and it's that they are becoming gods. And Aleister Crowley's law, which God has a law, the Ten Commandments were his main law, like love God only and no other gods, don't worship idols, do not murder, don't commit adultery, those things we all know. Aleister Crowley was the Luciferian, and the beast. He called himself the beast, and 666 was his signature. So he was really into that, the dark side, and his law was do what thou wilt, which is do whatever you want. There is no good or bad. It's all yin and yang. It's all black and white. It's black and white is not good or bad. It's just there. And so when you get mixed up in this, you start believing that, there is no wrong or right. It's whatever you want to do. And, that's definitely against the Lord, because the Lord says there is right and wrong, So you lose your moral value when you get into these things. It, as I was talking about in the first video, so catch that if you didn't, I explain more, but you sear your conscience, you leave a mark on yourself, and you get into worse and worse things. And luckily, the Lord allowed me to study more than I participated. And so I was very interested in the knowledge, but there was a lot of things that I didn't want to participate in, and I believe that was the Lord protecting my soul and my conscience, because I had a conscience being a mom, having a young child, and not wanting to harm human beings, and there's, like I said, these things they did, like offering their children in the fire. Yeah, absolutely could not do anything near that for my own personal gain, which is what I saw it. I saw it for what it was, and people get blinded, probably especially if they don't have children or like love in their life, like a deep love. Like a mother has a very deep unconditional love for their children. And I can see like people that don't have this uh, going more towards the dark side because they don't have anything to look to for that. That's one of the things that saved me and brought me to Jesus Christ, actually, is being a mom. Anyways, so they don't see this sacrifice of children as like a wrong act. They see it as they're turning into gods. Everyone's turning into a god. It's just a matter of when. Some people leave this earth, they pass, and they become part of one with the universe, and that's all they see. They're like children, and everyone as just like clusters. Kind of reminds me of like atheists and stuff. They just see everyone as like, like babies in the womb are a clump of cells. Like, it's not an actual baby yet. Well, yeah, it's life. And you could justify any human as a clump of cells, no matter how far along they are. Just they're believing that another human being is just a more evolved group of cells. So, how does that prevent you from seeing anyone as human? I mean, this is what happened in Nazi Germany, is like you start to disregard human life because of how you are being brainwashed to see human life. Um, like in Nazi Germany, they started, they believed in this like perfect race of people, and people that didn't fit into that were not important. And like if you had a disability, you know if you had were a certain color or whatever, that they saw as less than. And by the way, that I was getting to that with evolution, is Darwin, and I think it was his cousin that really thought of this, or like wrote books on it. But again, don't shoot the messenger because people get really angry at this. But Darwin was racist, and this is what he describes in his book. There's charts of humans, and he believed that, apes, monkeys, which he says monkeys evolved into humans, but really, if you look deep into it, he believed that monkeys monkeys are darker, and these turned into the darker skinned people, which he called savages. It reminds me of Pocahontas when the white men call them savages, like racist. They're saying you're dumb, pretty much. And that's how Darwin and these people in that time thought of, the darker skinned are less evolved. And as you evolve, you get more whitened, you get enlightened. This is where all this stuff comes from. You turn lighter, and that's why they have these pictures of Jesus like glow all white, and it's all brainwashing by the system. It's total bull. It's disgusting racism, and they believe certain people are smarter and more evolved, and it's just gross. And that's where Nazism came, and they still believe this, in their underground, like the royals and different things. They promote this in schools. They try to teach this in school, and they don't show you the whole book, of evolution. They just show the pages they want you to know, we evolved from monkeys. But it's much deeper than that. So that's my spiel on that. Anyways, I'm getting into all kinds of things from just what I've run into with this topic, but it's important. It's all having to do with, evil and how you can sear your conscience and you can think a perverse way and not the way God wants you to think, and it says in the Bible that people got carried away with their own vain imaginations and, just whatever. And I believe it's like stuff like this group of people's better than this, and and it creates hate, and people pass on unnaturally from other people. I'm not going to say the word, you know what I mean, people off other people, off this universe, because they don't see that person as a human being anymore. And that's why they sacrificed their own kids and different things. They believed it was to their benefit. It was neither good or bad. It was like something to help them get more money, and it was something to help them. And these children weren't going to help them progress. And what is it? It does remind you of like abortion today and things like that. Not to get all political, but that's just how it is. So I just wanted to show you this in the Bible. Starting out with Leviticus. So it even mentions, it talks about a bunch of things in Leviticus. Do not, it's saying, you must be holy because I, the Lord, am holy. You must show great respect for your mother and father. All these different things, God was like wanting humans to do morally. And one of them here in Leviticus 18:21, it says, "Don't permit any of your children to be offered as a sacrifice to Moloch," which was one of the gods. "For you must not bring shame on the name of God. I am the Lord." So all the way back in Leviticus, like Moses and Aaron, and when they made that golden calf and they left Egypt, way back then, God was saying, don't sacrifice. That was one of the things when they started becoming the people of Israel, the nation of Jacob, to follow after Abraham and Jacob and that lineage of special people to the Lord. The Lord was like, don't sacrifice to these fallen angels or these beings. Don't sacrifice to these statues people have made of other gods, of other angels. So that was a really important thing to the Lord. He didn't want his people to do that. So, and then it talks about in 2 Kings, it goes on